Just want to let everyone know the live stream has gone live.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Major at UT.
I'm a math CS major.
Wow.
Everybody but Delbarton.
Pretty sure I have their emails.
Okay.
I do too. It is, Michael is AIELLO _ M at delbarton.org.
Got it.
Raymond is XU _ R, also at delbarton.org.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Yep.
There's one chair, one I gotta move it around.
Okay, of course, Joe. And I just sent an email chain that was probably in a spam.
What email did you send it to?
Oh, no,
Your Delbarton ones.
it didn't deliver to my.
It'd be a yellow _ M and then you said Delbarton.
AIELLO.
I got the chain. Super fast that you guys sit on those two chairs since we probably will want to speak. Thanks.
Thank you.
Feeling bored. What's it?
All right, let me repeat it.
You guys enjoy the Taiwan tour?
Yeah, it's so cool.
I wanted to go, but our school did not let us. Yeah.
What Taiwan tournament?
American. Taipei, yeah, Taipei American hosted an in-person tournament this year.
Was it big?
Yeah, finals.
That's sick. What the hell?
I think they're trying to get the semis next year. I was talking with them, they did it different.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
All right, let me know that.
Did you go? Yeah, that's fine. I grew up in Taiwan, so there's like a courtesy like full circle.
Actually,
Higher.
how long were you in Taiwan for?
Like when I was a kid or?
Yeah.
Like 3 years, so dad is like State Department, so. You're up in like Canada and. It's cool.
Live stream outside. Yeah, it's fine, yeah.
I'm good to start on my video.
Yeah, we're just gonna.
Wait, okay, the case is sent on the first shake, right?
I have like one.
It's on, it says redo.
Okay. I thought,
you're-
I think I like definitely sent it to the wrong one, so. I'm
Yeah,
sending it to the
number
redo.
one.
Alright, thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Yeah, that's good. Okay, that's good. That's good.
I just thought,
Yeah,
yeah.
alright, we're good now.
Sounds good. I'm Audrey Browning, speaking first for Carrollton on the negative. Is anybody not ready? All right, my time will begin. Now, Luke 98, the resolve contention 1 is civil war. Tensions in Somaliland de-escalated and the path has been laid for lasting peace. As Agar 15 or 24 explains, the Horn of Africa has witnessed a significant development with the escalation, reducing the immediate threat of conflict. While the agreement represents a diplomatic breakthrough, Somaliland remains a critical issue. Complexities demand sustained cooperation. The unresolved issues underscore fragility of peace. The path forward hinges on sustained dialogue. The AU sets precedent for international recognition. As Sports 21 writes, the AU leads progress to resolve Somaliland's status and has legitimacy to act authoritatively. The international community, besides considering their own interests, countries look to the AU. If accepted, Somaliland would be joined into the UN. The abstract civil war clan dynamics ensure conflict with minority factions with large support, reject independence, and formidable movements. As Ban 22 explains, there's strong opposition by many Somalilanders against recognition. A power struggle between clans and clans oppose recognition because that will translate to aiding the government controlled by the ISOC. The fear is that the clans will allow the ISOC to dominate other clans and increase anxieties. The clans are openly discussing civil war. All it takes is a few people to lead a civil war. Independently, affirming brings FBI, which causes inequality-driven conflict based on clan corruption. Instead, 23 writes that Somaliland has limited financial aid due to lack of recognition. And Somaliland FBI increases inequality and triggers conflict that benefits only a small number. Conflicts arise due to increasing inequality between poor and elite. The inequalities lead to the same people, making it easier for them to fight back. The impact is both war and instability. Somaliland civil war causes mass displacement and death and draws in great powers. The 23 clans that fighting between Somaliland clans threatens the broader region and thousands are displaced. Drawing forces, Puntland and Al-Shabaab take full advantage of instability. Global and regional powers battle for the Horn's resources and erode stability in the region. Contention 2 is terror. Terrorism in Somalia is on the decline, reaching all-time lows. As Cade November writes, there's been a decline in Al-Shabaab, linked to cooperation between security forces that permitted significant improvement in deterrence and disruption of attacks. 60% reduction. Propaganda has increased. The current mediation ensures Ethiopian troops and AU peacekeeping remains in Somalia. The deal is contingent on not recognizing Somaliland. As Solly writes in December, that Somalia and Ethiopia reached an agreement that addressed demands of both. Somalia secured recognition of its territorial unity. Somalia confirms Ethiopian troops would remain. Al-Shabaab resistance is only working because of outside help, funding, and divided military and low morale. As Williams 24 explains, the AU played a vital role against Al-Shabaab. It remains dependent on external assistance. The army requires more funding than the government can afford alone. Somalia's bickering leaders fail to clarify structures between the government and countries and member states. Al-Shabaab Al-Shabaab's forces are cohesive, and Al-Shabaab maintenance of higher level of confidence after structural forces in anger, and Somalia gets sidetracked by tensions in African states until 24 writes that Ethiopia to recognize Somalia and Somali authorities threatened to expel Ethiopian troops helping to fight Al-Shabaab. Its quarrel allowed Al-Shabaab to regain territory. Ethiopian AU relations with Somalia are key to stability and counter-terror operations, backsliding piracy, war, and starvation. As COP24 explained, that strained tensions with Ethiopia undermine AU's peacekeeping, of which Ethiopia is the main contributor. Somalia called Ethiopia to leave. The AU will not endorse a plan to antagonize Ethiopia, resulting in a security vacuum, creating conditions for Al-Shabaab to conquer and destabilize the state government, enter Somali frictions, and the final road fragmenting action, which Al-Shabaab will exploit, creating chaos for pirate groups to exploit. And affirming breach recruitment and Pierce proof, as Williams 24 explains that Al-Shabaab launched a recruitment campaign drawing on anger of the MOU. The MOU included Ethiopia's willingness to recognize Somalia, and Al-Shabaab called on Somalis to stop Ethiopian interference. The impact is instability. Al-Shabaab causes mass instability and escalation of conflict and expansion of operations being conducted in Ethiopia, and increases the risk of other terrorist crises. As the 24 explained, the war on terrorism is far from over. Al-Shabaab aims to extend operations beyond Somalia to destabilize the region. It's natural for terrorist organizations to think about tractable area. It would be easier for them to terrorize and control African stability goes instability goes nuclear, and local actors are invested in interest in hot focus. But in 20 continues, the African conflicts and tensions threaten to flare out into nuclear war. Leaders ended arms control, lower barriers to nuclear war. Terrorism seizes instability across Africa and northeastern corner, a hot spot with violence terrorizing millions. African violence spills over and threatens to suck the whole region, which is dissolved into war and purely U.S. interest from the Red Sea to Europe. For those reasons, we're proud to make it.
Everyone's good. My time will be now. We from Siemens the global revenue pricing climate goal 324 increasing demand for earth right now. The most people supply shortage facing sufficient supply. The high demand scenario top of the assholes. So on, and then one of the most crucial reps in the black nation holding back the money after 124. Tomorrow morning, starting to jump ahead of Jim right now with the vast potential. Where is mineral coming 85% the story. One of the highest global centers nature. Green energy revolution. Moreover, these government eventually turns Somalia into a major competitive lithium market challenge. Down the China investment potential requires significant investment in infrastructure and unorganized status complicates devoted to attract international investment secure funding for large-scale project impact pending climate change in this fall. The increase in lithium production offsets the carbon emissions X20. For every single ton of lithium batteries, we display 195 tons of CO2 emissions every absent action for 23 rounds every 4.1 degree, 100 million deaths, and climate change really costing 60 specter on team. By 2050, actually finished drops clothing Amazon, probably their purchasing to a feedback loop, better conditions, and conflicts over resource control in the nuclear war, likely result in ending human civilization see through its governance. Somali something from the violence on our country 24 from the election approach without seeing recognition. Somalia's independence, re-election tries when border and other strategies have left. Somaliland battles by scope, Somali nationalism, fuel tensions, luckily recognition of Bruce Somaliland, domestic challenges, most desire for wars, must 22 to give pride to wars one. Formalizing independence for the Magashi elites and the mining, minds of the government, dramatic regression, because the elites and inability to mediate the spectrum of federal states seeking common control, the elites from their absorption political battles. Second, Somali nationalism, long running source of tension in Somaliland underlies the eager tensions about making a realization more likely it's key to maintaining Somali power, legitimacy, Iraqi, and solid in March 21. Working has been defining future state in Iraqi and international recognition with the way of gaining representation of population leaders gaining legitimacy among the domestic constitution by claiming the have supported the international players absent action violence cascades. Here, lesson 23. Escalation by around the Horn of Africa, lots of on-coast players, danger, stability across the Horn of Africa, growing violence, and risk of full war, connecting wire, playing confrontation, stability causing great power, Roman 24. No withdrawal in the Red States, in which consider essential for security with China and U.S. military presence in the region. Every Russia entered the free the region defensive battle, creative disruption, trade reviving, extreme screws, creative power war goes nuclear, top 15 has also goes nuclear, China's nuclear weapons, their conventional military making difficult to document without any other U.S. military campaign targeting China's conventional force during the Chinese leaders use nuclear weapons, while the German nuclear force generate crash U.S. fleet, destroy cause exceeding 23. A great power war acts administration could escalate this energy cause leaders to fight rather than negotiating nuclear weapons will be used, can't cause any winter reducing resilience to reach extinction levels, secret trafficking. Cross the big Horn of Africa, trafficking hovering across the 24 but the migrants the number of migrants from the Horn of Africa tripled in recent years, increasing near human trafficking across 17 months. Many migrants have been stranded and exported in transit countries, and with the rise in recent years, and the region plays a triple warrant in transit country destination for trafficking victims and trafficking smuggle Somali women to the destination of West Asia, lack of recognition Somaliland can get technical assistance, intelligence, sharing, help enforcement, chapter 11. Not renaming Somalian states outside the mechanism for regulating the flows of people and Somaliland present national approach for trafficking people in the Arabian Peninsula. Somalian is not a measure integral mechanism for checking criminal and cross-national crime. Moreover, Interpol's commonly Interpol breaks up deterrence criminal networks and system trafficking people. Let's run three. Interpol's commonly human trafficking to rescue victims from raising awareness, identify vacancies, disrupting trafficking networks. Interpol recognizes the needs of interstate cooperation. Now, 2 million people in Africa during modern slavery. Interpol actively enhances the capacity of stakeholders in Africa, including security, governance, and legal sectors. The impact of intergenerational trauma is open 17%. Sin depression, PTSD, reported by 70% of women survivors. C4 loss. Red Sea insurgency poses imminent risk of expulsion. Iceland 24 is the Red Sea is the major artillery cables connecting Europe to West Asia, Africa, and choking point is at risk right now. Houthis gun against the cables right now connecting all regions of the world, specifically recognize Somalia and able seizing accesses. Brought for 10 8 recognition less Somalia, the strength and accountability governance and reaches our piracy and this institution for all illicit posted money with international support and legislation, piracy, full assets, bank accounts, and finally received moreover country away from the AU to put recognize Somalia source money plus the AU, let the process of resolving Somalian says AU as a legitimacy justification authoritarian as the international community and independent legals Israel cooperation. Film 24 is that Israel so the basis Somalian attack and Houthi groups recognize Somalis independence, enhancing national security, location for Gulf of Africa, shooting important position situated in the entrance to many straits and the Red Sea. This is a focal point to the Houthi attacks right now. Slocks collapse, fuels nuclear miscalculation, break the slice, car 15. Lost communication in a few minutes can be catastrophic and unable to decode messages. Aggressors could use accordingly attacks on tables to cut them sensor information, prevent nuclear armed opponent for actually monitoring the weapons in country target. Could actually initiate preemptive strike in this scenario. Context Emily and Claire from C2 on great power drawn from instability and great power war causing extinction. Yeah.
All right, I'll start that clock now. So is Somaliland trafficking uniquely high?
It's not necessarily Somaliland doing the trafficking itself, it's that it's a source and transit country for the trafficking, like traffic victims to go into the Arabian Peninsula, as well in areas like West Asia.
Can I get a follow up?
Sure.
So like how specifically would aid their
With aid?
Yeah.
It's not aid, it's Interpol, which creates mechanisms with local police officers as well as their own officers to facilitate one, making sure it's tracking them specifically and they get good technology to do so. Secondly, it makes sure it checks back for migrant flows so that they can check back who's being trafficked. And it also allows checkbacks for people going to the Arabian Peninsula. So there's not just a flow of people going there without being checked for, which is what's happening right now.
Why specifically can't they get assistance without recognition?
Interpol does not help unrecognized states.
Something.
And the specific technology too. Can I have a question?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go into Civil War, specifically at FDI. What does the evidence you cite say the line after you highlighted?
Let me pull it up. Or just want to tell me?
Yeah, sure. Let's pull it up too. So it says the conflicts arise due to increasing inequality between poor population and elite that are supporting it. This can also, wait, I'm reading the wrong line. For some reason, I can't find the line. But the thing is, it gives both sides of the story. Oh, here it is. The benefits of foreign investment can be captured easily by government with minimal spillover to the region. These investments are made, for example, foreign investment in natural resources that need support from locals by the way of human capital and infrastructure can easily be transferred out of the region. Moreover, the workers in these types of industries are usually low skilled and poorly paid, but also poorly treated. But this is one of the reasons why investment in non-resource sectors should be encouraged. So if there's investment that actually is good, which can help the people right now who are in poverty, why shouldn't we do that?
I mean, we'd say the investment right now, like we're advocating for the status quo. We're saying that affirming brings FDI if that's what causes it.
Yeah, but why is FDI uniquely bad when right now in the status quo, the country's kind of in shambles?
Because the FDI uniquely goes through the clans, it uniquely goes to the ISOC clan who's currently in power, and that leads to clan corruption.
So why is UA FDI proving this as a point? UA sent, I believe it was $280 million to, or a little bit less, to Somaliland. So why isn't that aid triggering the same impact you're talking about?
Because it doesn't go directly to the ISOC clan.
It's the same thing. It's still foreign aid. Anyone in Ethiopia recognized that much. They also sent it, but sure.
Okay, so has Somalia implemented this Interpol that you're talking about in your CV?
Somalia refuses international help. So
No, has Somalia.
yeah, Somalia refused international help, so no, they have not allowed Interpol into their police.
Okay.
How much time do we have?
15 seconds?
Yeah, brief argument on terror.
Yeah.
Greek Ethiopian troops. Why specifically is AU unique, not Ethiopia?
Because we tell you they're uniquely key to stability and counter-terror in the region.
Just Ethiopia.
Ethiopia and AU relations.
Okay, which card says AU relations?
Put 24.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, okay.
I reflect real quick to ask about a car?
No worries.
What's the one where you said that like Somalia isn't accepting foreign aid from like other countries?
There's no specific card, but if you read the Interpol stuff, it talks about how like they're not in the region right now.
Okay, sounds good. I'll run.
What's it, I'm sorry.
30 seconds.
All right, so 40 plus it. Yeah, sounds good.
I received the doc.
I'm good.
Okay.
Everything's fine on my first word, just starting on the REMS argument down on.
Let's talk about REMs first. Hold the line. They don't read a lick of uniqueness evidence on the argument. You know that climate change is already locked in and single state mining REMs isn't going to change that as Carrollton 22 finds that extreme heat past the point of no return and 90% of the heat trapped by greenhouse gases absorbed by the ocean. The ocean underpins all life on Earth and extreme have an outside impact on the ecosystem with the percentage past 50% and did not fall below the point of no return. The Atlantic passed the point of no return in 1998 and the ocean experienced extreme heat in some large ecosystems now 80 to 90% and the ocean you contend will be most relevant to the global climate, but also I would say dealing again because the alternate causes or solve for climate change solvency has a lack of international cooperation, a lack of finances and investments mean climate change is never solved. But we'd also say turn it because the status quo is forcing innovation that leads to more efficient use of REMs and innovation to other processes that solve the environmental harms of mining as goals in 2014. I said during a crisis, many users find a way to reduce our actual use of the disrupted product, and adaptation and innovation spurred by the crisis is actually nearly free or can even lower costs. Even a major disruption of rare earth catalyst inputs registered limited financial effects on the target, even though the number of cell phones, hard disk drives, and even hybrid electric vehicle is quite large. Each one only requires a tiny amount of REMs in its components. But turn it again because stopping further mining of REMs pushes countries to recycle REMs, which removes waste and is better for the environment. Is Mishra 20 right that recycling of REMs of waste protects environmental pollution from mining. We would also say turn it again because REM extraction always harms the environment. As Mayor 21 writes, there are two primary methods of RE mining. Both release toxic chemicals. The first involved removing topsoil, and the second involved using PVC pipes to pump chemicals into the earth. Both methods produce mountains of waste, and every ton of rare earth produced yields 12,000 cubic meters of waste gas. At that point, it's always damage to the climate on their side. But let's talk about governance, extend our uniqueness evidence to the top of case when IGR 24 tells you that the Horn of Africa has witnessed a significant development with de-escalating. So we so far, this data post solving, you're seeing balance go down. There's no need for their trigger. But we'd also say turn it because recognition forces invasion, as Hassan right last year, that Somalia's reaction rooted in perception of Somaliland is slipping away from their hand. Frustration over the lost opportunity. They're willing to go to war against Somaliland to maintain sovereignty. But turn it again because recognition splinters and ignites a wave of succession as Guerrero 24 that African states' respect for it is drawn as recognition sets dangerous precedents and encourages secessionist movement, fueling instability. In Ethiopia, various regions advocate for autonomy. In the 80s, Ethiopia, Somalia, and Sudan engaged in supporting movements to destabilize each other and led to fragmentation. This pattern is going to reemerge, and Somalia will escalate rebel groups in Ethiopia, perpetuating proxy conflicts, destabilizing Africa. Let's talk about trafficking, turn it, because border patrols leave migrants vulnerable for being re-trafficked. As Lobaz writes in 2009, that migrants who seek assistance become vulnerable to exploitation. deportation. Law enforcement results in immediate deportation and cause trafficked person to return home without any support, leading to their re-trafficking. But we would also say turn it again, because migrants get trafficked while going through third parties, as Miller and Baumister 13 writes that the market for clandestine is linked to the widening of border surveillance as migrants seek out third parties to reach their destination, but jeopardize their security, ending up in more exploitive situations. But I would also say there's no warrant as to why, like, Somalia as a recognized country doesn't have this Interpol system. They just tell you, like, Somalia doesn't want it, but insofar as Somalia is already accepting foreign aid from other countries and they can actually give us a card that Somalia doesn't want this, I would feel like make them find it, because we would say that there's absolutely no warrant as to why Somalia has it. At that point, there's no reason as to, like, why it's going to go into Somaliland. Why is that a different scenario? Let's talk about slocks. We'd say that recent bumps in piracy stay limited anyways, as Stratford 24, that piracy's impact will be limited, and due to stronger multinational counter-piracy structures, the shipping industry is better prepared to face research and piracy activity as commercial vessels are now more commonly deployed and on guard. But we'd also say that it gets worse in their world, as the Houthis always retaliate to U.S. militarization, increasing the risk of regional war. That terms cases, Granville writes this year that Houthis vowed fierce retaliation for U.S.-led strikes, raising the prospect of a wider conflict. The strikes would not go unpunished. We would also say that even these unilateral strikes alienate allies as trade-off force the U.S. to cooperate, which is always more effective. As Joyance 24 writes that EU countries call for de-escalation as France and Spain aren't comfortable with U.S.-UK farming. Strike will further alienate Washington's partners, and U.S. is increasingly see its allies acting counterproductively and unilaterally. At that point, you always need to.
You said, wait, did you read everything?
Everything is said, and everything is read.
We'll take one round. Starting.
Yeah, cool. That was 57. Almost the best.
That's.
Also, Doc. Do you guys have apps over whether you will prefer PDF or Word?
Word.
Okay.
My bad, I didn't ask. You're all good. I got it last one.
Yeah, thanks, clip that.
It's all novices, 12, probably.
Oh, God.
Maybe like 30 this year.
Okay. Let me know when you guys receive it.
Yeah, I got you.
We're using water check.
Got it.
I just got it.
Give me like a second now. I got it. I'm good.
I have it.
All right, cool. On red, will by the climate change is already locked in. That kicks out of all the terms, and the terms don't have any terminal impacts between the KKL right there on governance. They tell you that it's gonna that they want the escalation. No, there are cross evidence is way more specific and it gives better uniqueness because it actually about Somalia. And then they tell you that Somalia is gonna invade. Anyways, this evidence to all parts. No, by the reason that Somalia hasn't invaded even Ethiopia, the recognition that Somalia does not actually have the capability. They tell you the secession increases post half. No, we tell you Western Sahara thumbs and other countries don't look for Somalia into whether or not to succeed on trafficking. They tell you that border patrol is bad. Our evidence is about our cases about border patrol, it's about Interpol. Then they tell you that the third party people are trafficked. That doesn't really matter. It's more our. And so far, Somalia is their transit and home country, which is that they just stay in Somalia, and then they tell you that Somalia doesn't want it. That doesn't even matter. That doesn't matter. So far, our fact that Somaliland wants it and it's effective made them prove why it's ineffective. On spots, they tell you that piracy is already limited right now. Our Twitter evidence is much better because it actually talks about the Houthis and is more specific. But then they tell you that the Houthis will retaliate. The Houthis don't have enough capability to retaliate against the U.S. military. They don't want to risk the U.S. military escalating attacks, and they tell you that alienates them further. No, alienates the EU further. No, their evidence is talking about whether the U.S. does offensive operations. The U.S. would beat on defense only defending the socks. Their case. On civil war. First, on the because an escalation is happening right now between clans. Code 21. Intense fighting in southern Sanaa region. Conflict calls previous clash and less not further stabilizing the region. On the link. First, current in action in terms of ethnic division. ICQ6. Further, they would unacceptable units to becoming less inclined to compromise their government and creative authority separatists becoming increasingly missing and their determination to defend the Somaliland game. Somaliland quest for peaceful admission, the opportunity to establish the content of bodies honest broker, the quest for peaceful settlements. That outweighing prerequisite increasing polarization means violence is more likely. But the second term, transparency, Somaliland current legal system makes dispute resolution easier. Beer 24. Lack of governance for the system for Somalia makes it come to conflict between political parties and stakeholders. But third, aid negotiation will allow individual parts of Somaliland to choose their own destiny. Short 21. Somaliland's unwillingness to negotiate on rights efforts for reconciliation, negotiating the Somaliland status would address the jurisdictional issues and provide forum for other teams and ethics Somalia to negotiate associated with Somalia. AU can compel Somalia to negotiate. But six. Most people in Somalia and one statehood and a vocal minority do not pose issues. The evidence is rural areas. We over 14. 97% voted in favor of independence. They don't need to always say eye to eye on the majority of Somalians people respect minorities while experiencing physical harm. On the FBI link. First, they can see that the cross that the link only happens if it goes directly to the ETHOP clan. We tell the IMF and other investors aren't dumb, which means that prevents from happening. But second, there's no civil war in other clannish countries. That's because receiving some FBI skill on net's better than not receiving any at all, even for minority clans. On terror. First, the non-unique currency how terror fails. PW24. Available funds that yet to be commensurate with the immensity of after space and security challenge to offer the EU has contributed $379 million, 61.5% of fund's current capacity. On the link, first term, recognizing one of the U.S. presence. Movement 23. State Department between the U.S. will not recognize Somaliland until the EU does so. U.S. presence will stop terror. Movement 15. U.S. letter efforts in Africa, DoD and his expert kind of terrorists and DoD partners build their own capabilities and expand their capacity to fight these terrorist organizations. But second, recognition less word security coordination against terrorism and fosters cooperation with Al-Shabaab. Coleman 14. Independent state lack of recognition major impact to our foreign assistance grant good governance fighting terrorism recognition should continue its value with Somalia. On the Ethiopia link, first, their link evidence doesn't really say anything about Somalia. It's about Egyptian military bases. We read green. Their co-governance, defense pact between Mogadishu and Cairo may threaten countries' stability, trade, and relation with Ethiopia. That means that it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter if there's any recognition. But then we tell you this is also an independent reason to drop them because their evidence is really bad, which means that you should probably punish them for doing that. But second, even if the empiric doesn't mention the EU about Ethiopia unilaterally conducting their recognition, both countries are part of the EU. Both countries are part of the AU. But third, turn negotiations over the future of Somalia means that Somalia and Ethiopia can better cooperate on counterterror. On the link. First, their empirics thumb everyone who wants to join just because they're angry at the recognition already joined during the MOU. But second, recognition isn't a breaking point for any terrorist group that can do things with very few people. With 9/11 had 20-ish perpetrators, only counting the terror can solve for the root cause. Yeah.
What is the problem you are?
Would you like to sit or stand?
I prefer standing, but if you want to sit, that's fine.
Comfortable, a little bit better. Do you mind if I ask the first question?
Sure.
So can you explain why Interpol doesn't trigger the link in the low as evidence with human trafficking? Because it's still saying that like the inherent like border patrol on human trafficking would trigger something. Like why does Interpol not?
Border Patrol operates at borders. Interpol operates within the country. That means that they're not just at the border and saying, hey, you can't pass here. You just have to stay in this like middle ground and like never leave. But like also, yeah, your evidence is all specific to the US Border Patrol. The reason Interpol is different is because they can actually coordinate with other countries and do internal operations. Can I have a question here?
Okay, let's go into your terror stuff. You tell me that like recruitment goes up to like Somalian people being angry. Why wouldn't they have all like why wouldn't this like why actually no, why is this recruitment like necessary for anything?
Why do terrorist organizations want to recruit more people?
Like what changes when they get like 2 more people in the terrorist group?
Well, I would say like 1, it's not 2 more people.
Okay,
But
how
2,
many?
like a terrorist, I'm not going to be able to quantify the exact. amount
Wait,
of
that
people
seems like a big issue to me.
But
If you
I can't quantify the exact amount of people that are going to join this terrorist organization.
if
It's
you
so hard
can't
to do
quantify your impact, how do you weigh it?
Okay, it's at the point where like you guys can't tell us exactly like how many people are going to get trafficked, right? I mean, I feel like that's kind of silly to say we can't weigh our impact just because we don't have an exact number, right? I mean, but continuing with that, what we would tell you is that right now,
terrorism in Somalia is at an all-time low because of mediation efforts, but what happens is that goes away with the act, which reverses that
Yeah,
process.
why, but like, why is the app enough to, what, okay, rephrase this question.
Yeah.
What is the bright line? How many people need to be like, to join the terrorist group for this, like, your impact of like, suddenly great powers come in for that to happen?
It's like, we would say we're on the brink right now because the Horn is such a unique
So if one more
geopolitical-
terrorist comes in, suddenly like, the US and China start a nuclear war?
Again, it's not just like one or two.
So what
people,
does
but we
we're
would
on the
tell you
brink
this-
right now mean?
Okay, I would tell you, like, if a lot more terrorists were to join the organization, that's when that triggered, but we would tell you that.
What's a
only
lot?
just at a lot more terrorists. I don't have an exact number, again, like, I can ask you a question,
Okay, you
exactly
have a
how
question.
many people are gonna get human trafficking?
We tell you that 68% of human trafficking survivors have PTSD, which means that it's a
That's not-
scalar impact.
Can
Which
you-
means
can
that
you
like
quantify
even,
your
yes,
impact?
even one more person getting human trafficked is a really bad thing because it causes that person to have huge PTSD, which we tell you is a really bad impact because PTSD is empirically not solved for by other intervening actors.
You can ask a question.
Let's go into your argument on civil war. You tell me it's being de-escalated right now.
For sure, yeah.
Okay, are like what, like when there's a bunch of like wars going on between like the between clans in like southern Somaliland, why do you count that as
So
de-escalated?
we would say is the most recent evidence in the round is the evidence weird, which is AGR 25 or 24, which takes a holistic scale of like Somaliland and tells you that overall you see tensions escalating or de-escalating right now. Even if you can give an example of like a clan fighting in southern Somaliland, that still doesn't interact with this analysis that says across Somaliland you're seeing a
Okay.
positive trend, right?
Okay.
Because you're just giving like one example.
Okay, that's cross.
Alright, I'll take running faster.
Are you trying to watch the live stream? I just got texted by one of the teammates. They said chat's going crazy.
Alright, it's gonna be app case, our case. Time starting. Now, starting governance, you know, AGR 24, that tensions are de-escalated. They just say their evidence is better. There's zero warranting why. Remember the term Hassan 24, that recognition forces invasion. They say there's no capability. Somalia doesn't attack what Ethiopia did in one deal, but the big move is in the app is different. And Hassan explains that Somalia is ready and willing to invade. Remember the term they dropped during AGR 24, that recognition splinters and ignites a wave of secession. You always see more secession in their world, but go to trafficking. The term Lafaz 9, that border patrol leaves migrants vulnerable to being re-trafficked. They just say intermodal again. They don't warrant why Somalia doesn't have Interpol, but Somaliland suddenly would. It's just not proficient. There's no evidence. Then remember the term Miller 20 or Miller 13 that migrants get trafficked while going through third parties. They just say it would stay in Somaliland. Again, they don't warrant how that actually happened, and there's no warranting as to how Somalia, as a recognized country, hasn't implemented Interpol, but Somaliland somehow would. They go to Stratford 24. Recent bumps of piracy will stay limited. They just say their evidence is better. And about Houthis, again, ours is from this year. It talks about Houthi piracy. They're just not lying. And then Gamble 24, the term that Houthis retaliate, U.S. militarization increases the risk of regional war. The terms case. If you don't believe that previous evidence with Houthi specific, this is in June of 24. Unilateral straps alienate allies and trade off forces the U.S. to cooperate, which is more effective. They just said the U.S. would be on the defense, but they don't actually prove why it's not going to be on the offense. And that the trade-off forces the U.S. to be offensive. But go to our case on civil war. We're going to drop off of our C2 of terror, but I'll respond to the turns. Remember they said that current counter-terror fails. That terrorism in Somaliland is at an all-time low. The evidence proves it's not working. And they said that recognizing would invite U.S. presence. The deal is contingent on Somaliland not being recognized. And it's in negotiations that reach Somaliland means a better relationship between Somalia and Ethiopia. Ethiopia and AU relations with Somalia are key to stability and counter-terror. And negotiations aren't key. Our world is. But go to our C1 of civil war. That we posted on a larger scale in Somaliland, tensions would be down on their escalation happening now argument, but they'll turn the inaction causes ethnic division. The 2006 card is a 2006 card, and we know that most recent unique evidence says that clan violence is failing in the status quo, even though they give us an example of one conflict for the empirics over a long time. And then the term Somaliland recognition clarifies legal systems, makes dispute resolution easier. Somalia has no interest in negotiation, no warranting why they wouldn't now and why they wouldn't in the future. And we say AU negotiations would allow individual parts of Somaliland to choose their own destiny. How would the AU make it possible for Somaliland to somehow be an independent state, but also let parts not be a state? That makes no logical sense. They say that most people in Somaliland want statehood. Only the ISOC clan does that, is far from the majority. And they say we can see the cross that literally happens when you go to the ISOC. There's literally no evidence that IMF wouldn't just go to the ISOC. They don't actually get evidence there. Remember, on Civil War, it's post-election. Somaliland conflict is the escalating. Clans are cool now. That a permanent ensures interclan conflict because the ISOC have power in Somaliland. There are only 4 clans that oppose because they feel military and financial aid give the ISOC clan power to take control. All it takes is a few guns to start conflict, and are already talks of eventual war. And Somaliland lacks internal legitimacy, meaning any attempt at state fails. International legitimacy without internal legitimacy is uniquely bad because it puts the state against internal opponents. On the way, it's a prerequisite increases regional instability they can't solve. It's a prerequisite leads to increased terror opportunities and triggers all their impacts. Remember, the FBI triggers a wealth gap between the poor and elite, leads to racial violence, and for those reasons, we conjugate.
We'll take running that.
Okay. That will start now.
I also want to accept That was 155. We have 5 seconds left. My case.
Time will begin. Now, starting the trafficking terms, Interpol is completely different. The way Interpol works, it works within the city with the different organizations there and the local police officers. So it doesn't trigger any of the stuff, and it's about the US border, but they don't weigh the terms, are not evaluating it anyway. Then we're setting our argument on Slox. Go for it right now. Red side, you're posting imminent risk of Slox, Houthis posting imminent risk of Slox right now. The first link is a list of money, solid air exchange strengths, the government ability to follow list of posting money, destroying the Houthis and piracy network. Second is zero cooperation. Countries are waiting for the EU to recognize money and enables zero cooperation to stop piracy and Houthi violence, creating military base in the region. Loss of communications, bad cause miscalculation to perceived attack, ability, plus great power more and able to resource release, set for security, escalation of conflict wars that dual powers go nuclear because conventional nuclear world terror link right now. Unfortunately, small threats escalating, causing exchange to new nuclear winter, causing extinction. Then the only thing they say is first that bumps and piracy are limited right now. And they say they're limited right now. And they say their evidence posted no, but their evidence, our evidence posted, and you command F Houthis once their evidence is not saying you should say we are evidence very specific to Houthis specific which they can see. Then on the turn like Houthis are rebelling against US bases. One, our link is not US one time in case, and they don't read a link into this that US goes into the region, so you're probably not evaluating it. But even on this, we said that empirically this is not true because no, the US is always gonna be on the defensive, and they know they're passing the fight against them because Houthi has less resources than the US. They're not dumb. Then on the thing about US being bad, no, they're gonna be on the defensive. They say no, they won't empirically have within the region. They're always valuing that first go to end. On weighing it's tried after the app because right now there's an insertion of posting risk Slox right now with the only uniqueness evidence there, so referring us to the time frame argument. But second, we also weigh on time frame because right when you're firm, we're able to stop this and enable seizing assets immediately. We're on the contrary, don't know when the civil war happens post app. Then also a magnitude, we're the only team that extends a link into extinction impact should always be provided us because affecting most people within the rounds. Also will have a prereq to them because high instability in the Red Sea causes no resources to go into Somaliland. That's actually caused the civil war between different clans. They're convinced the Isaac clan's not giving them the resources that actually are being sent through, even though they're not actually there. Go to their case. On their prereq, these are blips in the end of speech. They say prereq instability. One, we'd argue that our time frame is faster, so preferring it here, but more importantly, the instability is never actually caused because there's clan dynamics happening right now, which proves that. But more importantly, on the prereq, that it causes more terrorism. Once again, a complete blip. There's no warrant why it causes more terrorism. We'd say also the Houthis groups right now are always up, so like even if there's a small increase, it doesn't make a difference when we're enable their assets, so they can't even recruit. Then, go to civil war. Oh, on governance really fast. Again, these terms aren't weighed, but we'll just extend the sub-Saharan thing that it should have triggered it. And on the recognition and equal invasion, they don't have the capacities. They just say they want to, but it doesn't matter if they want to. If they physically can't, they're not going to. And Ethiopia approves. Go to their case. On civil war. Extend the thing that we're going to extend the EU sauce to the negotiations with these specific clan groups. They say the EU won't be able to because they're not recognized states, but they can still have these clans come to the region specifically. And that cause negotiation. Read the evidence is very specific on this question. You should probably outweigh some probability because it's empirically true in areas like Kenya. But also, we'll go for the response that most people actually want statehood. 97% of people. They say it's only the Isaac clan. No, this is 97% of the country. The majority should probably be preferring us here. You can literally read the evidence, and if the only study actually done, they assert that the other people don't want this. Then. We'll also go for the fact that IMF no civil war because FDI is overall better, which actually causes people to get lifted out of poverty and removing the incentive. That's jobs, so it's an independent reason why FDI is good and actually removes the ability to do the civil war in the first place and the desire to.
Is Somalia part of the AU?
Yes.
Yes. Cool. So like, if these clan conflicts that you guys mentioned are happening within Somalia, like at what point does the AU just start solving these places?
So the issue is that right now Somalia is like being really irritating and not allowing the AU to actually do stuff. But Somaliland wouldn't because Somaliland is a functional democracy.
Also, Somaliland's the one with the clan issues, not Somalia.
Again, but that's like under the AU's framing, that's part of Somalia. At that point, you haven't seen the AU
No.
go.
The issue is that the AU still like can't just barge into the country. Like they can't just kick down the country's door and say, "Hey, we're gonna do stuff now."
Again, but you guys also say there's tons of other clannish countries. That's what you guys say, and that FDI hasn't triggered that, and that like no, that's what you guys say in ref, right? You guys say that like there's tons of other clannish countries. It's FDI didn't trigger a civil war.
No, that's not what the response was. It just says that on that FDI is better because it removes the incentive for people who stop.
If you like look at the doc, y'all say that other clannish countries in Africa like didn't trigger this, but at what point does the AU go in and start mediation?
Sure. One, we know what extended that response, so you're probably not validating it now and Grand Cross. But more importantly,
Also, this doesn't matter. We just have to win one piece of defense.
Yeah, but more importantly is the bigger issue, which that they can't get the Isaac clan to come to AU mediation right now because they're technically not the governments within the region, and they refuse to do anything with the AU until they recognize them.
You can have a question.
Let's go into your argument regarding. Yeah, let's go back to civil war.
For sure.
On the response about it's only the Isaac plan? Where in the study does it say it's only the Isaac?
Okay, it's back in 22. It tells you that ISAC is the plan in power and pushing for independence. The 4 opposing clans oppose US recognition.
Yeah, so the reason
Yeah,
that we
wait,
tell
wait.
you that there's not gonna be a civil war is that overall, like,
Yeah.
sure, maybe like 51% of like some of the other clans think that it's like not
Yeah.
Okay,
good,
but you told
but
me
over, no,
79.
yeah,
you
no,
told me
it's 97% of the
So
total
how is
population.
97% of Somaliland the ISAC
One,
clan?
yeah, our
Yeah.
evidence talking about AU recognition specifically, not US recognition,
Yeah,
like
But does
verbatim
AU
to say.
recognition not?
No,
There's
no one reads evidence on that in the round, so in my eyes, it does not. But more importantly is that we're the only ones who did a study of what the actual population with Somaliland had, which the numbers came out to 97%. Yes, but you guys have a question.
Let's talk about like, how does this negotiation happen? Like, do these clans just all of a sudden start like wanting to negotiate?
Yes, actually, that's what our evidence finds. So the Schwartz 21 evidence, which we read in rebuttal, basically says that if Somaliland's recognized, it can cause different negotiation to happen to resolve all conflicts. It gives the example, for example, like Puntland within the scenario, that it can solve back to that. It gives
But
the example of
I'm
weird
not-
clan
I'm not
dynamics
asking,
that are occurring right now on a small scale, can also solve back for those issues.
So do the clans just like all of a sudden want to start, like, why do they just want to start negotiating?
It's because they know that because the AU is the one doing it, it's no longer biased. That's why. And they don't want to gain independence, these other clans. No one's saying that, right? They just don't want to be taken advantage of, which our evidence finds they won't in the first place. But more importantly, is like even if they do perceive they owe, the AU mediation can solve after that.
Like 10 seconds serving around. I do think about that. Start on Civil War way and then slogs. Even not really.
Start on Civil War at the end of the day, the most recent evidence in the biggest study in the round tell you that in Somaliland and in the northern Horn of Africa, you are currently seeing a de-escalation of clan violence. That's really important because you're always advocating for the status quo when you're advocating for the neg. At that point, they're just going to get up here and tell you that like AU recognition is going to solve for this cooperation, but insofar as you know that none of these clans have any interest in any kind of like mitigation between these cities right now, and they no warrant as to why they would in the future, and that's like at what point this happens. But we would also say that insofar how does AU make Somaliland a state, but then let parts of Somaliland not be a state to create this negotiation? It doesn't make any sense. What we would say is that at the end of the day, Audrey's made it really clear that the ESOC clan, which one, it's important that even though it's not the majority, they are the clan in power, and two, we would say that that is going to be the majority of the actual high political power that's going to be advocating. At that point, you're always going to see this instability happen. At that point, Horton 23 is really clean when it tells you that a Somalian civil war causes mass displacement and death, drawing in great powers. At the end of the day, affirming ensures interclan conflicts when you have the other 4 clans opposing the ESOC. And Somaliland lacks any internal legitimacy that doesn't just suddenly appear once they get recognized by the AU. But Audrey extends some really good prerequisites because he tells you that when you increase regional stability, you can always be able to solve for better, you can always solve for issues better. At that point, the prerequisite is going to be solving for regional stability. But let's talk about SLOCs. The Granville 24 evidence is really, really clear when it tells you the Houthis always retaliate. At that point, you know that you're going to see kind of trigger, but there's just say like it's US military, it's US specific. What you'd say is that the Houthis always retaliate to foreign relations. But we'd also take and see the second part of the card, which Audrey does extend, telling you that the Strait is now better equipped to deal with piracy anyway. At that point, the link is definitely mitigated, but also I would say really cleanly extend the turn on governance. That Hassan 24 tells you that recognition always forces invasion, and at that point, they just gonna feel like Somalia doesn't have the capability. But insofar as Audrey's explained to you that the Hassan card tells you Somalia is ready and willing to invade, that's the biggest impact in their round.
We have 5 seconds. I'll start now.
What would be this invasion turn quickly? Swaps, weighing their case. Wait, did we take our? Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Everybody good? Cool. On the
this turn on invasion, there's no impact extended, nor is there any way extended off of it. You can't vote on it. Extend stocks. Red team just renewed with power scheme to keep these public imminent risk of stocks. First is the list of money flows. All EU recognition throughout the governor ability to follow the list of money flows, destroying these piracy networks, and enables Israel cooperation. Countries are waiting for the area to recognize money and enables Israel cooperation to stop piracy through creating military bases and also community to cause miscalculation, perceived as having instability, causes great power involvement in resource essential for security. Dual use powers go nuclear because China's conventional nuclear military are linked. Small strikes escalate and causes nuclear winter that makes it too cold and too dark to grow food. They extend a response that the Houthis retaliate. They have conceded Michael's frontline that there's no capability that's not US bases, which means that it doesn't matter if the Houthis want to retaliate because they physically can. They also just say that piracy is down. This was not in summary or in rebuttal, which means that you cannot vote on it. But more importantly, even if piracy is down, we're the only team that reads uniqueness evidence, which means that it's still try or die for us. On the weighing level, they have conceded the try or die weighing because we're the only team that links into extinction, which means that even if we win the tiniest amount of risk, you still vote for us. But then we also have the best time frame because you can enable seizing assets immediately because it enables seizing assets in the moment it's officially recognized because it's all digital. We have no idea when the civil war that they talk about will come in. At that point, the time frame is the first thing that comes on your ballot because the time frame dictates all the other way. And on their prereqs, they just tell you that instability solves for other things. No, they don't give any warrant here. If anything, we tell you that our stocks is more important because it actually causes more instability because it causes great power levels of instability, but you have no idea what the civil war stuff is happening. On their civil war case, they do not extend an impact or a link. That means that you can't vote on this even if they're winning for the full case, but they're not. Here's why. Extent that most people want statehood. They just tell you that it's just the ESOP clan. They have conceded that the ESOP clan makes up 97% of the population and 97% of the people prefer it, which means that there's not enough for a civil war. They also don't go clearly for which link they're doing, but then we tell you that some FBI is better than none, which means that there's no inequality through FBI, which means that there's no civil war. Anything else I should say? Oh yeah, AU negotiations also solve for that. They should just tell you that it doesn't, but there's no reason why insofar as the AU negotiations have solved for them in the past.
Right, guys.
That was a great round, thank you.
Great round.
Yeah.